Thanks, Kyle, and thank you all for being here today. As Kyle mentioned, PPAT stands for the Principles and Practice of Assistive Technology. This is a class that was taught here at MIT for the first time in 2011. It was really the brainchild of Seth Teller. And it's a project-based class where we have teams of students, usually 4 MIT undergraduates, working closely with a person with a disability from the local area to develop an assistive technology that will help that individual perform some activity that will help them live more independently. And the picture we have here is one of the PPAT teams from this past fall. We have 4 students and one of their mentors standing in the back, and in the front is Sarah. Sarah lives at the Boston home and uses a power wheelchair and loves plants, really loves plants, and loves to water the plants at the Boston home. And so that was the activity, and Sarah was looking for a way to be able to water the plants without overwatering them and without spilling them. And so the project that our students did for her was to create, I don't know if you can see the student all the way on the right is holding something. That's a jug that holds water that fits on the back of Sarah's wheelchair. And there was a pumping device and a couple of different attachments, so water could be sprayed on the plants, or water could be sort of measured in small quantities and poured into the plants. And so that was one of our more successful projects from this past year, and it was actually written up in the Dorchester Reporter. I'll say a little bit more about PPAT projects later on, but first I wanted to talk about some of our broader philosophy for the class and some of the classroom activities. So the learning goals for PPAT, we really want to help students understand the principles and the complexities of assistive technology design and engineering. In parallel with that, we want students to learn about the challenges and the realities of people with disabilities and become equipped with some awareness that will help them serve as advocates in the future, whether that's advocates for individuals or perhaps advocates in corporate settings. And then finally, we want our students to gain experience managing a team-based design engineering project and working with a real client. And so we in PPAT have traditionally called the people, the individuals that our students work with clients. The term co-designer is becoming more prevalent, and I think we're probably on the verge of shifting towards that. But when I say client or co-designer, I use those terms interchangeably in the PPAT context right now. And we're really very particular when we screen our PPAT projects that there be an individual client. So sometimes, for example, we may have a teacher or an occupational therapist who will approach us with an idea, but we won't do it with the teacher or even the parent as a client. The client has to be the individual. The teacher or the parent or the caregiver can be involved in the project as a co-mentor to the team or as a resource, but we really want to have a single identifiable client, because so much of the power of what happens in PPAT is the relationship that the students develop with this individual and what the students learn from working with the individual themselves. As I said, we'll say more about the projects in a minute, but first on this slide I want to take a few minutes to tell you about some of the activities that take place in PPAT. In the classroom. Very early in the semester, we have an assistive technology showcase. We also have a wheelchair lab where students spend a couple of hours riding around the MIT campus and understanding what the campus is like from the perspective of a wheelchair user. We have a couple of panel discussions throughout the semester, one fairly early in the term on interacting with persons with disabilities to help students develop some vocabulary and also some comfort level just in before they go and have their first interview with their clients, some do's and don'ts, some helpful tips. And I just want to go back really quickly and ask you to look at the water jug that the person on the student on the far right is holding. It's been decorated with, I don't know if you can see sort of some fake green grass and some colorful flowers. So one of the things that we try and do in PPAT is help students gain an appreciation for what the assistive technology looks like matters, because it may help it become just a cool thing that is adopted more widely, but also for the individuals with disabilities who are using it, functional is good, but it's also important to think about making these things either more attractive or to fit in. And so it was really eye-opening for me personally the first time we had this guest lecture, even in the context of like a software product, just to think about font and color and what the purpose of the device is and what the user's preferences are and everything is really very valuable. We have a lecture on post-PPAT opportunities. So it does happen occasionally that one of our project teams will want to continue their PPAT project after the end of the semester. MIT has a very rich ecosystem, starting with Sandbox and venture mentoring and all other kinds of things. So we spend some time in class thinking about what your options are and what that could potentially look like if you wanted to continue the project beyond the semester. In the context of the projects themselves, I think it's important to point out that our students come from a variety of technical backgrounds and work with a range of technologies. So we are completely agnostic when it comes to the technology. Some project teams will do an app, so it is entirely contained on a phone or a tablet device. And others will build a physical device, and others will build a device that has some electronics somewhere in between, some hardware and some software. Students have weekly client meetings, and then in the classroom we run through all of these topics. I'm not going to read them to you, but we have different workshops and classroom activities so that we're not just throwing students in cold. We're actually giving them some foundation and structure for all of the phases of the project. We also teach them a little bit about video production so that they can make video documentation. There's two kinds of documentation that's due at the end of the semester along with the final prototype that they deliver to the client. There's a video, and then there's technical documentation. And those are available for all past projects on our website. And this is our external-facing website, ppat.mit.edu. If you go there up at the top and click on past projects, you can see the videos and the final project documentation for the last couple of years. So thank you.